The Bamboo Executive, now on Amazon. Link on the screen. Hi, I'm Maylin Maple, author of The Bamboo Executive. After 25 years in a Fortune 500 company, I finally put my journey into words. Today, I want to share why I wrote this book. This book, The Bamboo Executive, was not just written, it was lived. For 25 years, I carried the weight of being a first-generation immigrant inside a Fortune 500 company, navigating cultures, expectations, and the silent battles no resume ever shows. Writing this book is my way of giving those lessons back, so you don't have to spend decades figuring them out the hard way. But to explain why I wrote it, I need to take you back to the beginning. When I first arrived in North America, everything felt unfamiliar. New city, new culture, new language. I was determined to succeed, but deep down I was in survival mode. I didn't think about thriving. I only thought about getting through each day without making a mistake. That fear shaped my early career in ways I didn't fully understand until much later. And survival mode followed me straight into the corporate world. My first corporate job was overwhelming. I often had ideas in meetings but kept them inside, afraid of sounding foolish. Sometimes others said exactly what I had been thinking, and they got the recognition. That silence taught me a painful but valuable lesson. If you don't speak, your voice doesn't exist. That was just one of many hard lessons I carried with me. Why bamboo? Bamboo became my personal symbol. In Chinese culture, bamboo bends but does not break. It is resilient, humble, yet unshakably strong. That's how I came to view my journey. Sometimes I bent under the pressure, but I never broke. This book captures that spirit of endurance and growth. And resilience became the thread that connected every story I wanted to share. The turning point. There came a moment when I realized that just working hard wasn't enough. I had to find my voice, build my network, and learn how to navigate politics. That turning point changed everything for me. Without it, I might have stayed invisible forever. That shift pushed me to reflect on all the lessons I was collecting over time. 25 lessons, 25 years. This book is not a theory or textbook. It is 25 lived lessons from 25 years. Each one is tied to a personal story, mistakes, setbacks, small wins, and the wisdom I gained. It's a roadmap for young professionals, immigrants, and anyone trying to climb the corporate ladder without losing themselves. But the real motivation wasn't just about me. It was about who could benefit from these lessons. I wrote this book for the young professional who feels lost in meetings, wondering if they'll ever be noticed. I've been in your chair, doubting myself, second-guessing my words. This book is a guide so you don't have to stay stuck where I once was. It's also for those making an even bigger leap, immigrants carving out a new life. To every immigrant trying to balance two worlds, I see you. I know what it feels like to be proud of your roots, yet pressured to blend in. I wrote this book so you realize you don't have to erase who you are to succeed. Your uniqueness is not a weakness, it's your power. And then there are the dreamers, the small businesses wanting to play on a bigger stage. Through my career, I also saw how small and medium-sized businesses struggle to break into corporate supply chains. I wanted to share an insider's view of how big companies think, so entrepreneurs can prepare better, pitch stronger, and build lasting partnerships. So in truth, I didn't write this book just for one audience. I wrote it for anyone navigating growth. You may ask me, why you publish this book now? After 25 years, I finally had the clarity and space to look back. The world has changed. Remote work, AI, new career paths. but the core lessons remain timeless. I felt a responsibility to write this book now, while the insights were fresh, so others can use them to build their own path forward. And that's why the Bamboo Executive was born. Writing this book was more than storytelling. It was reflection. Each chapter forced me to revisit my younger self, the mistakes, the doubts, the breakthroughs. Putting those moments into words helped me heal old wounds and transform pain into purpose. In many ways, the book wrote me as much as I wrote it. And reflection is only meaningful when it's shared. I believe knowledge is not meant to be hoarded. It's meant to serve. Too often in corporate life, lessons stay locked in corner offices or boardrooms. I wrote this book to unlock those lessons so anyone, no matter where they start, can access strategies that took me decades to learn. But service also comes from honesty, sharing not just the successes, but the struggles. This is not a book that pretends the corporate ladder is fair or easy. I talk about burnout, rejections, politics, and identity struggles because that's real life. If I only shared polished victories, it would be dishonest. My truth is that success came with bruises, and those bruises taught me resilience. And some of those bruises turned into my greatest lessons. Lesson in rejection. I faced rejections that stung, promotions I didn't get, opportunities that slipped away. Early on, I took it personally. Later, I realized rejection isn't the end of a path, it's a redirection. That shift in mindset became one of the cornerstones of my growth, and it's one of the lessons I share in the book. But rejection was only one test. The bigger test was surviving burnout and recovery. There was a time in my 20s when I pushed so hard, I burned out completely. I thought quitting was the only way. But learning how to recover, rebuild, and work with intention rather than exhaustion became a turning point. I share this story in the book because so many professionals are quietly burning out right now. And with every low point came an opportunity to rebuild stronger. Redefining wealth. In corporate life, people often chase titles, salaries, or recognition. But over time, I learned wealth is not just money. It's peace of mind, freedom, and balance. The book goes deeper into how I redefined wealth for myself and why it matters more than the size of your paycheck. And balance also applies to how we build our careers. Too many people build careers they can't wait to escape. I was tempted to do the same, but eventually I realized a better way. Design a career that sustains you instead of drains you. That's not easy, but it's possible with the right mindset and strategies, and it's a theme throughout the book. But no one builds that kind of career alone. You need guides. I wouldn't have survived 25 years without mentors and sponsors who opened doors, gave advice, and sometimes pushed me when I hesitated. This book emphasizes the difference between mentors, sponsors, and coaches, and why every professional needs each one to grow. And mentors weren't my only teachers, so was culture itself. As a Chinese immigrant in Western corporate culture, I constantly balanced two worlds. From Eastern patience and humility to Western assertiveness and networking, I had to merge both. That's why this book blends ancient wisdom with modern strategy, the bamboo philosophy with boardroom reality. That blending is what made me unique, and it's why I finally found my voice. For years I stayed quiet, then I overcorrected by being too aggressive. Eventually I learned that true voice is not about being the loudest, but being authentic. Finding my voice was the single most important step in my career, and one of the most important reasons I wrote this book. And that's the voice I want to pass on to readers of The Bamboo Executive. The cost of silence. Silence has a cost. By staying quiet early in my career, I lost opportunities, visibility, and sometimes even credit for my own ideas. But silence also taught me that your story will always be told, either by you or by others. I chose finally to tell mine. And once I found my voice, I had to learn how to use it wisely. Power of storytelling. In corporate life, facts and data matter, but stories move people. I learned that the ability to tell a compelling story could turn a good idea into a great opportunity. Writing this book is my way of modeling that power, using storytelling to make lessons unforgettable. But storytelling only matters when it aligns with my values. My values, integrity, resilience, and empathy, guided me more than any corporate playbook. I wrote this book to show that you don't have to compromise who you are to succeed. True success is staying aligned with your values, even when the world pushes against them. But values alone are not enough. You also need strategy. Early in my journey, I was just surviving. Later, I realized success required strategy, building networks, managing perceptions, choosing battles. This book is filled with strategies that help me move from survival mode to strategic moves, the very first lesson I share. And strategy matters not only for individuals, but for businesses too, inside the Fortune 500. After decades inside a Fortune 500 company, I saw patterns, how decisions are made, what leaders really look for, and why some people rise while others stall. I wanted to take readers behind that curtain so they understand how the corporate world truly operates. But beyond the boardroom, I also wanted to humanize success. Too many careers are measured only by promotions and salaries. I measure success differently, by impact, by growth, by the people I mentored along the way. That's why this book is not just about climbing higher, but about creating meaning as you climb. And part of that meaning came from building bridges. As an immigrant, I was always a bridge between cultures, teams, and perspectives. I realized my role was not only to succeed individually, but to connect others. This book is an extension of that mission, a bridge between generations, between East and West, between experience and aspiration. And those bridges led to some of the most meaningful relationships in my career. Corporate politics exist, but people matter more. I wrote this book to remind readers not to get lost in the games. Real influence is built through trust, empathy, and consistent action. That's what endures long after titles fade. And those relationships often opened unexpected doors. The gift of sponsorship. When a sponsor advocated for me behind closed doors, my career shifted. Those moments taught me the importance of being seen and supported. In this book, I highlight how to find and become a sponsor, because no one climbs alone. And those lessons prepared me for my final years in corporate life. 25-year career is a long but fulfilling one. I carried gratitude for the lessons, but also clarity that it was time to pass them on. Writing this book felt like closing one chapter while opening another. My legacy is no longer just my career, but the wisdom it created. Which leads to the heart of this story, the reason I wrote it. Now going back why I wrote this book. I wrote The Bamboo Executive because I know how lonely, confusing, and overwhelming the corporate journey can feel, especially as an immigrant, a young professional, or a small business owner trying to break through. This book is my offering, a collection of hard-earned lessons, cultural insights, and encouragement. I wrote it so you don't have to walk alone, and so the bamboo spirit of resilience can guide you too. And that's why this story is no longer mine alone. It's yours to carry forward. I will also leave the link to the book order at the comment section. Thank you again for visiting my channel, a place to reflect on life, career, wealth, and balance. If you want to walk the journey with me, please subscribe and leave a comment below. Thank you.